Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating plunge into a book that feels less like something you just read and more like a toolkit you actively use. We're diving into Tools of Titans by Timothy Ferriss.
And it truly is a toolkit, isn't it? It's a curated collection, a synthesis, really, of lessons, tactics, and daily habits.
Yeah, habits pulled from hundreds of the world's most successful people, folks who are guests on his podcast over the years.
Right. Think about it. World-class performers. I mean, investing, sports, art, science, business.
Yeah, people operating at the absolute top of their fields. It's almost like getting their personal key codes, their unexpected strategies all packed into one place.
And what's really crucial to understand right from the get-go is the author's role here.
Okay.
He isn't setting himself up as the ultimate guru of all these different areas.
Right.
Instead, he's more like the experimenter, the scribe, the guide, maybe. He specifically included tools, beliefs, or habits that he could actually test or replicate himself.
So he applied this stuff rigorously.
Exactly, do his own life. And he mentions the payoff for him personally was, well, pretty huge. Often massive savings in time, money, or just frustration.
So this isn't just theory. It's like field tested.
Absolutely. So why spend time with this deep dive? Well, like you said, the book is designed as a kind of playbook.
Yeah.
It's like getting the ultimate Cliff's Notes version of high performance across, incredibly varied parts of life.
It feels like a really practical resource. A toolkit maybe for those times when you feel stuck or trapped or maybe just unclear on how to move forward.
It provides what he calls performance-enhancing details, or PEDs.
Yeah, not those PEDs.
No, not the illegal kind. These are the small, often seemingly tiny things that, when you do them consistently, lead to, well, disproportionately massive changes over time.
And the real gold isn't just collecting cool quotes, although there are definitely plenty of those.
Sure.
It's more about learning the how and the why behind their success. Understanding their patterns of thinking, that meta skill, which you can then apply to your own stuff.
Exactly. The goal is tangible, actionable insights. Inspiration you can actually start experimenting with pretty much immediately.
So who is this deep dive really for then?
Honestly, I think anyone who's curious about improving, well, any area of their life, health, wealth, just practical wisdom,
Right. If you like gaining knowledge quickly and finding tactics you can actually do something with, this seems like it's for you.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's unpack some of the core ideas then, the things that kind of tie this whole diverse collection together.
Right. So at the very heart of the book, there's this powerful foundational belief.
Which is?
That whatever success looks like for you, running a marathon, building a business, mastering a skill, it's achievable.
Why?
Because someone else has very likely walked a similar path already, faced similar obstacles, figured out a way through.
So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time.
Precisely. There's this idea of shared DNA, these field-tested beliefs and habits from others that you can study, borrow, and adapt for your own journey.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it explains why just reading a random quote online often doesn't really stick, right?
Exactly. The book really emphasizes the context, the story, the application behind the advice.
A fantastic example he gives is from Jamie Foxx.
Oh, yeah.
The quote, "What's on the other side of fear? Nothing."
Sounds cool.
It does. But its power just explodes when you hear Jamie explain why he uses it. Like, fear is just this mental block, an illusion.
Right.
And how he teaches it to his own kids, emphasizing that you have to push through that perceived barrier to see if there's actually nothing dangerous holding you back. That context, that's what teaches you how to use it.
That's a great illustration. And like you mentioned earlier, the author's discipline in only including things he could actually test or replicate. That's a critical filter.
Yeah, it shows he walked the talk.
It does. Applying these ideas, potentially saving himself, as he claims, millions in years of effort, it adds that layer of proof.
Which kind of leads us into another recurring theme, doesn't it? The power of the absurd question. Or the seemingly impossible one.
Yes. This is where it gets really interesting. The book highlights how asking questions that sound completely unrealistic can somehow unlock these profoundly creative and practical answers.
The prime example is from Peter Thiel, right? The investor.
That's the one. He challenges conventional thinking by asking, if you have a 10-year plan of how to get somewhere, you should ask, why can't you do this in 6 months?
Wow. Okay.
And the author pushes it even further, like with a more dramatic version. What might you do to accomplish your 10-year goals in the next 6 months if you had a gun against your head?
Whoa. Okay, that's extreme.
It sounds, but the point is to just obliterate your assumptions about timelines, resources, perceived limit.
Right, it forces your brain to fire differently, find paths you wouldn't normally even consider.
And this connects really nicely to that idea that 10x results don't always need 10x effort. It's about finding leverage, applying those performance-enhancing details.
All right, it circles back to that core idea. Small things, done consistently, are the big things. Those tiny daily habits, strategic shifts, they can create exponential growth.
The book also offers this fascinating kind of meta lesson about how to approach the material itself.
Oh, how so?
The author suggests paying close attention to the sections you feel tempted to skip over.
Interesting. Why?
Well, if you find yourself wanting to gloss over something, he says pause and ask yourself why. Does it seem too hard? Does it offend you somehow? Are you rejecting it based on, like, inherited biases rather than really thinking about it?
Huh. So it's about self-awareness.
Exactly. This practice of self-inquiry, challenging your own resistance, he presents it as a way to actively create yourself, your future, rather than just looking in the rearview mirror to discover who you've been based on past stuff.
It's a call to conscious evolution, almost. Okay, let's dive into some specifics then. Examples of these principles in action, starting with the healthy section. There are so many incredible people in there.
Absolutely. Take Amelia Boone.
The obstacle course racer.
Yeah, they call her the Michael Jordan of obstacle course racing. Incredibly demanding sport. And she famously won a major championship just 8 weeks after serious knee surgery.
Wait, 8 weeks? That's insane.
Right. Her strength clearly isn't just physical. She puts it very simply, I'm really good at suffering.
Wow, what a mindset. And her billboard quote is just as blunt, no one owes you anything.
Yeah. And she shares these incredibly practical, almost tiny tips, like rolling your foot on a golf ball for flexibility.
A golf ball?
Yeah, she finds it more effective than a lacrosse ball for hitting specific spots. Or using the skier, you know, that vertical machine?
The skiing simulator.
Right. For intense cardio and upper body when other parts like her knee were injured. She also mentioned some supplements like hydrolyzed gelatin and beetroot powder for connective tissue health.
Practical stuff.
Yeah.
And didn't she recommend a really weird book?
House of Leaves, yes. Described it as a physical sensory experience. You have to literally turn it upside down sometimes to read parts.
Crazy. Okay, moving from pushing limits to maybe building a foundation. Coach Summer, the gymnastics coach.
Legendary guy, known for building incredible strength and mobility.
And his philosophy is pretty tough, right? Work on the stuff you're most embarrassed by?
That's the core of it.
Yeah.
And his quote really drives it home. If you want to be a stud later, you have to be a pud now.
Meaning?
Meaning you have to be willing to look awkward and struggle with the basic exercises that expose your weaknesses now to be strong later.
Ah, okay. Like those exercises he mentions, standing pike pulses.
Oh, yeah, where you stand bent over, legs straight, pulse your torso, feeling, like, ridiculously stiff.
Right. Or the RTO, dips on rings, rotating your hands out.
Incredibly challenging for shoulder stability, yeah. Or squatting with thoracic mobilization, slowly rolling up, vertebra by vertebra. They feel weird, but they build strength in really essential ranges. He's also big on the functional movement screen, the FMS, to find those limitations.
Okay. Shifting from the physical structure to internal states. Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, the ketosis researcher.
Right. He used nutritional ketosis and fasting to deal with his own debilitating Lyme disease symptoms.
And the effect was pretty dramatic, wasn't it?
He called it night and day, a 10x improvement in mental clarity after getting into deep ketosis when other treatments failed him.
Wow.
And his key insight is that fasting doesn't have to be miserable. You can do things like brisk walking, stay hydrated, strategically use exogenous ketones.
Those are the ones you take from outside, right?
Yeah, ketone bodies you consume helps get you into ketosis, or even healthy fats like coconut oil in coffee or tea.
And he explained the basics of keto, too. High fat intake.
Often 70–85% fat. High protein doesn't quite work because your liver converts extra protein to glucose, which kicks you out of ketosis.
Got it.
He shares foods he eats, like sardines, oysters, nutrient-dense stuff. And he talks about combining tools, keto, fasting, ketones, plus that interesting idea about stem cell banking from wisdom teeth.
Wild. Okay, then there's Dr. Peter Appia, focused on longevity.
Yeah, he presents this powerful defensive play strategy.
Against the big four diseases, right? Cardiovascular, cerebrovascular.
Cancer and neurodegenerative, yeah. The things that cause like 80% of deaths after 40.
So what's his approach?
Rigorous blood testing is key. But And this is crucial. A single test is just a snapshot. What really matters is trending your results over time.
Ah, the trend, not the single point.
Exactly. He tells these dramatic stories like his blood work after a grueling Catalina Channel swim looks like someone with major trauma, or a patient whose cortisol levels look like an adrenal tumor. Turns out their water heater just broke that morning, causing huge stress.
Wow, context matters.
Hugely. It shows why trends are vital. And he also talks about tackling physical weaknesses, like his glute medius muscles side of the hip.
Right, the reverse thigh master thing.
Yeah. Feeling and looking silly doing it, but emphasizing how crucial it is for movement and longevity.
Okay, shifting to mental resilience. Wim the Iceman Hof.
His billboard quote is just perfect. Breathe, motherfucker.
Direct. And his thing is cold exposure.
He sees it as this powerful, cleaning, purifying force. The physical stress of the cold somehow helps dissolve mental stress, makes daily problems seem smaller.
And his practical tip is super simple.
Just finish your shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water. That's it.
Okay, doable.
Yeah.
Then there's Kelly Starrett, performance coach. More practical mobility stuff.
Loads. He calls the couch stretch and the Spider-Man lunge game changers for hip flexibility.
Which is key for, like, everything.
Totally. And a surprising one for sleep. Smashing his gut with a ball before bed.
Smashing his gut. What?
Yeah, he says it can help stimulate the vagus nerve, promote relaxation. Bit weird, but hey.
Mm-hmm. And he mentioned something about hydration, too, not just dehydration.
Right, hyponatremia.
Yeah.
Dangerously low sodium from drinking too much plain water without electrolytes, so pinch of salt in your water, especially after exercise. And he had that simple mattress checklist to lie on it if you cross your feet, maybe too hard. Need a pillow under legs, maybe too soft.
Useful little tips. Okay, let's switch from physical to mental state. Tony Robbins.
Ah, the peak performance strategist. His core idea. Quality questions create a quality life.
That's his mantra. And he talks about state, story, strategy.
Exactly. Fix your physical state first. Eat, exercise, cold shower, whatever. Then you can often shift the story you tell yourself about your problems. Then you build an effective strategy.
It makes sense. You can't strategize well if you feel terrible.
Precisely. And he details his daily priming routine.
Right, the 10-minute thing.
Yeah. 3 minutes gratitude, 3 minutes sending healing energy or connecting, 3 minutes focusing on feeling 3 major goals achieved. It's about starting the day empowered.
And his quote about it is pretty blunt.
If you don't have 10 minutes for this, you don't have a life.
Ouch.
Oh.
Okay. And Tim Ferriss himself shares his own daily habits too, right?
Yeah, his personal PEDs. For sleep, he lists 5 things. Acrobasing partner acrobatics helps relax the hips.
Okay.
The Chillipad mattress pad for temperature control. Tart cherry juice with honey. Yogi stress relief tea. And reading fiction.
A whole toolkit just for sleep. And mornings.
5 non-negotiables. Make the bed small win. Meditate even just 10 minutes. Brew tea. Journal 5-minute journal style or just free writing anxieties. And a quick 1-2 minute workout.
The journaling thing. He has specific prompts.
Yeah, focusing on relationships, opportunity, simple things. Helps avoid just going through the motions on gratitude. Keeps it fresh.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears again. The wealthy section. Mindsets, tactics of investors, entrepreneurs.
And we have to start with Arnold Schwarzenegger. His foreword is, well, incredible. Especially for someone with his image, he says flat out, I am not a self-made man. I got a lot of help.
Wow. That's huge. Undercuts that whole myth.
It really does. He credits mentors, advice, inspiration constantly. From bodybuilding, business, politics. He arrived with his gym bag, but was already a millionaire from construction and real estate before his first big movie.
Amazing. And he talks about turning weaknesses into advantages.
Yep, shares a hilarious story about working construction with Franco Colombo.
Another bodybuilder.
Right. To get a higher price for bricklaying, they'd argue loudly in German and Italian, made the client think the job was super complex.
Huh. That's brilliant. And a smaller tip from him.
Always have backup audio recorders for interviews. Shows professionalism, ensures you get everything. Simple, but smart.
Okay, Chris Sacca next, venture capitalist. He talks about offense or defense.
Yeah, critical concept. Are you actively choosing your challenges, your goals playing offense, or just reacting to demands, like your inbox playing defense?
Makes you think.
Yeah.
And he lived away from Silicon Valley. In a cabin.
Yeah, Chucky, California. But he says that actually helped him build more authentic relationships, which led to huge investments like Uber and Twitter.
Interesting. Counterintuitive.
And he fully embraces being weird. Argues that being unapologetically yourself, even quirky, drives happiness and success. His example, ordering 50 mullet wigs for a party just 'cause.
Okay. Then Mark Andreessen, internet legend, his productivity rule sounds almost too simple.
Right. If you're struggling to fit something in, just schedule it for night or the weekend. Gets it done. Simple. And he champions the red team idea.
Yeah, actively appointing someone or doing it yourself to stress test your ideas, find all the flaws, even if everyone loves it, fights groupthink.
Smart. And his core philosophy, always forward.
Exactly. References a character, Joe Pike, with red arrows tattooed pointing forward. Don't dwell on the past, don't play replays, don't torture yourself with what-ifs, just move forward. He also studied value investors like Buffett for their first principles.
Got it. Okay, Derek Sivers, CD Baby founder. His advice for starting out.
Incredibly grounded. Just take small paying gigs.
Really?
Yeah, he tells the story of a $75 gig playing guitar at a pig show. That led him to the record store that inspired the whole CD Baby model, which he sketched out in 5 minutes.
Wow. And he saw business as creating a little world.
Where you control the laws, yeah. And he was famous for tiny, delightful details that created huge word of mouth.
The private CD Baby Jet email. That's the one. Cost nothing, but people shared it like crazy. Perfect example of those small PEDs having massive impact. He also says, don't rush just to be type A. Take 45 minutes instead of 43 might be better. And go first. Smile at strangers.
Simple wisdom. Okay, Alexis Ohanian from Reddit. He has a different take on successful people.
Yeah, quite striking. His point is most superheroes, people doing amazing things, are actually kind of weird, neurotic, and they succeed despite their flaws, not because they're perfect.
Huh. Like his own examples. Caffeine, same pants.
Exactly. Contrasted with things like meditation or buying a house. And he emphasizes efficacy over efficiency.
Right. Doing the right things versus just doing things quickly.
You can be super efficient at useless tasks.
Yeah.
Efficacy is what matters. He shares his 8-step morning process for that. We'll wake early, write anxieties, pick 1-3 must-dos, do them first.
Ensures the important stuff gets done.
Yep. His conclusion, what you do is more important than how you do it.
Powerful. Matt Mullenweg next, WordPress founder. Known for calmness.
Remarkably calm under pressure. There's a story about him calmly playing billiards while servers were crashing around him.
Wow. And his mantra.
What would Matt do? Referencing a calm, rational version of himself. He also talks about hiring using asynchronous text, email, chat, not just interviews.
Why?
Helps reduce bias, lets them focus on clarity of writing because clarity of writing indicates clarity of thinking. And yes, there's the absurd 104 McNuggets story too.
Okay, finally, James Altucher. The 10 ideas a day guy.
Yeah, and the why is key. It's not about 10 brilliant ideas. It's about forcing your brain past the easy ones to the weird, silly, bad ones. Building the idea muscle.
So the process is the point.
Exactly. By forcing 10, you exhaust the obvious and have to dig deeper, which eventually leads to some original, valuable stuff. He mentions brainstorming craziest things, led him to the idea of taking a startup vacation.
Interesting. And the author himself wraps up wealthy with his own education experiment.
Yeah, replacing grad school with self-directed learning and action.
The Tim Ferriss Fund.
That's it. Instead of spending, say, $120K on an MBA, he allocated that money to making small angel investments.
But the goal wasn't just money, right?
No, primarily practical education. Learn about startups by doing it. He shares his initial rules, gamble only, comfort loss, managed businesses, limit funds, and crucially, how breaking those rules on his first deal, losing $50.
Ouch.
Painful but valuable lessons. Led to stricter rules, trusted refer, analyze failure potential first, minimum exit calculation.
So learning by doing, mistakes and all.
Exactly. Wow, okay, we've covered a lot, but it really is just scratching the surface of this book.
Definitely. But you can really feel those common threads, can't you? Across all these diverse people.
Absolutely. That constant emphasis on trying new things, even if they seem weird, acro yoga, cold exposure, taking odd gigs. It's about curiosity, testing.
And investing in yourself, clearly. Learning, health, reflection. Like Tony Robbins priming or journaling. Buffett's point about investing in yourself.
And that powerful reminder, especially from Arnold, about community, mentors, support. Nobody does it alone. Saka's cabin relationships, Laird Hamilton's training group, having a meditation buddy.
Those connections are vital.
It really shows that while the paths vary wildly, there's this shared DNA, right? Discipline, resilience, curiosity, confronting weaknesses, bias towards action.
And critically, it's often not about huge overnight changes. It's identifying and consistently applying those small performance-enhancing details.
The small habits, the questions, the tactics, they compound.
Tools of Titans. Really feels like something to engage with, highlight, dog ear.
And most importantly, experiment with. It gives you those aha moments and practical strategies you can actually pick up and try.
So as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive,
Yeah.
given this incredible variety we've touched on, what's one seemingly small, maybe even slightly absurd habit or tactic from these titans that you could honestly commit to experimenting with starting this week?
Or maybe think about it this way. If success really does have shared DNA you can borrow, whose specific shared DNA from this deep dive resonates most strongly with you right now? And how will you choose to study and integrate that into your own journey forward?